What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining in on another episode of Niners News with 49ers Hive. I'm joined by Matt Llewellyn. Matt, how you doing?
Hang in there. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. I'm also joined by Anthony Perry. Anthony, how you doing?
What's going on, Zach? What's going on, Matt? Ready to talk some Niners, guys. Let's get it in.
Yes, sir. And without further ado, we're going to get right into it. Today's topic is early 2020 NFC West predictions. Matt, lay it on me. What are you thinking? How does the NFC, who gets stronger, who gets better, or NFC West, excuse me, how do the 49ers do?
Well, I think the 49ers are going to win the division. They're not going to win 13 games, though. I think they're going to be like 11-5. And that's just because, the NFC West is one of the toughest divisions of football. Really, the team that's improved the most is the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, they fleeced Houston for DeAndre Hopkins. They drafted really well. Isaiah Simmons is the guy that they're hoping can stop George Kittle over the middle. And that's one of the reasons why they drafted him. I mean, they got chewed up by Kittle last year. For me, I think this is the year that Seattle has a big drop-off. They draft terribly. And this year was another first year where they kind of overextended. Not that Jordan Brooks is a bad player, but they overextended for him in the first round. Everybody thought that was a reach. And it was one of those things when Pete Carroll first came into the NFL, he knew all the college kids from his time at USC. And so he drafted well. He found Richard Sherman in the third round, I believe. He found, Russell Wilson in the third round. He found all these players. And as he got further and further away from being in college, you saw the drafts get worse and worse and worse. And I know a lot of that's on John Snyder too, but let's not pretend like Pete Carroll doesn't have a huge say in that. And then we bring up the cellar dwellers, the Los Angeles Rams. And, a couple of years ago, everybody was getting on Jeff Fisher for that 7-9 BS. Well, they're going to have some 6-10 BS this year because they are absolutely horrible. They screwed up their cap so bad by Jared Goff, the Todd Gurley, who is now in Atlanta, and the Aaron Donald. They're going to have to do something with Aaron Donald. I think they're going to have to get rid of him, move on before too long. But they didn't have a first-round pick this year, I believe, because they traded it, right? That was for the Brandon Cooks. No, it was for Jalen Ramsey. That's correct, who they have to pay. And their first pick in the second round, they draft a running back, and not even one that people thought was going to go there. There were still good backs on the board. Zach Davis,
Zach Moss.
I don't remember. Listen,
Moss.
I was so shocked. Zach Moss, Zach Davis, Zach whoever, Zach Morris. I don't care. They drafted a running back in the second round. They have huge needs. So when you draft like that, and you could tell too. Talk to McVay. I mean, just watch the video of him as the picks are coming through. He is pissed. You can tell that him and Les Snead are not on the same page. Talk to him about the Trent Williams deal. He's like, oh man, I need to go drink. Don't remind me, I need to go drink. He knows. And they're moving into a new stadium, and those fans are not going to get their money's worth. It's going to be a $2 billion spectacle with, the second best football team in town. The Chargers are going to be infinitely better than the Rams. So I have Niners 1 at 11-5. I think the Cardinals are going to be somewhere around 9-7. Seattle 7-9, 8-8. And then the Rams 5-11, 6-10. So those are my predictions for 2020.
Okay, that's a pretty solid breakdown. I could definitely see that happening. Anthony, what are you thinking? How does the NFC West shape up?
Well, Matt couldn't have been any more right. I think the Niners are going to finish in first place, not exactly 13-3, which I think is very high end for the team given their schedule, because they do have a couple tough away opponents. They do have to play playoff teams in particular, like the Saints and the Bills. They just have to play the Packers, and the Cowboys can always be stingy. You never know. But the point being is that I do see 11-5, 12-4 in the team's books. Now, this is where I think the rest of the NFC West does get a little murky. Arizona is on the come up. They drafted very well. Kyler Murray had a solid rookie season, but can he avoid the sophomore slump and continue, growing as a quarterback prospect? And the team in particular is still very young. Again, they drafted very well. A lot of the guys they have on that team are just up-and-coming draft picks that are still kind of developing. So they're not quite there yet, but we can see their window opening up as a team. And I wouldn't be surprised if they finish second in the NFC West this season. I have a lot of confidence in that offense for them. Their defense with Isaiah Simmons is just going to get vastly better. They also have guys like Budda Baker and Byron Murphy and Deontay Thompson in the secondary who all played very well. And then that leaves Seattle, the Seattle Russell Wilsons, if you will. We're going to see that I think a lot of people are thinking too highly of Russell Wilson. He's turning, 32 years old behind an offensive line that they still haven't necessarily fixed, with offensive weapons that, one, can't stay healthy, and two, Pete Carroll doesn't seem he knows what to do with him. Russell Wilson knows that offense better than Pete Carroll, and that's saying a lot. And you can honestly say that Russell Wilson has handled that team like how Aaron Rodgers has. The only difference is that Russ has had a real coach. And overall, like Matt said, they drafted okay. They took Jordan Brooks, kind of a reach at linebacker. I think they took another running back at some point in the draft. And overall, the draft wasn't too spectacular, but they're another one of those teams that if Russell Wilson's season tanks, he goes down with the team. And I wouldn't be surprised if low-end Seattle finishes 8-8, 7-9. And good coaching and good quarterback play can only take you for so long when that team's formula is not necessarily getting any newer than it has the previous years. Pound the rock. Oh, if the rock doesn't work, let's run it with Russell Wilson. Oh, Wilson can't get any throws off. That's it. And then Pete Carroll falls down the hole. So right now I have the Niners first, Cardinals second, because I think the Cardinals are on the coming up. I do think Seattle finishes third. I really do. And then that leaves the LA Rams. One of the worst salary caps in all of football. At the moment, one of the worst managed teams in all of football. When it's crazy that a couple of years ago we said this is going to be the team of the NFL for the next 10 years. They have the offensive mastermind in Sean McVay. They have the future leader in Jared Goff. They got Todd Gurley. They got Brandon Cooks. They got Gerald Everett and Tyler Higbee. Their offense is spectacular. Then let's bring up the defense. Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, all these guys go on and on with the team, and now they're in salary hell with a coach who doesn't appear to be happy with his GM. The miscommunication is really bad. They're the second best team in LA, playing in a stadium that doesn't even look like it's going to get filled up every home game. And the team is just in a mess, and they're in a pinch overall. Like Matt said, I wouldn't be surprised if they have to move an Aaron Donald, or even not be able to bring back Jalen Ramsey, or have to move Jalen Ramsey, or make some shocking move just to stay above the salary cap because they can't pay all these dudes. So I think the Rams will finish fourth. I do see 5-11 or high end 6-10 in the books for the team. But overall, the NFC West is arguably the best division in the league. I wouldn't be surprised if every team finished with at least 7 or 8 wins minimum. And that's saying the fourth place team finishes with 7 or 8 wins. There's still a lot of good teams. I wouldn't overlook the Rams. They still have a fantastic coach. They still have some great pieces on offense and defense. And you can say the same thing about Seattle. You can say the same thing about Arizona. But they didn't put it together. Seattle did. Seattle got kind of lucky in one-score games. But overall, a lot has to happen to knock the Niners off the throne. And I think the Niners are just the best-ran organization in the NFC West for that to even happen.
Okay. Well, look, I definitely agree with you guys with the top and the bottom. I think the 49ers, just like Matt said, there's no way they win the same amount of games that they won last season. It's not really doable. I mean, look, that success at that high of a level isn't sustainable at, multiple years. Even 2 years is tough to do. I could definitely see them, just like Matt said, 11-5, 12-4. At best, probably going 13-3, but that likely doesn't happen. They're a young team still kind of growing into who they are. And, they did have a bit of luck on their side last year as well. So I think the Niners win the division. I think that they do kind of assert themselves as the clear-cut division winner. But here's where I kind of separate from you guys. I do agree that Seattle takes a step back. However, I still think they come in second place. We've been saying for years now, it seems like this is the year Seattle's going to fall off. This is the year Seattle's not going to make the playoffs. And for the most part, we've all been wrong. Russell Wilson's been able to do Russell Wilson magic. I understand they haven't really surrounded him with any weapons. They did get him DK Metcalf. He turned out to be a pretty good pick so far. That remains to be seen. Obviously, if that changes, but as things have gone, he's been a good pick for them. So I just think Seattle, they take a step back, but I don't think they take as large of a step back. I still think they finish second in the division. And although I do agree with you guys that Arizona takes another leap forward, I think they still don't take as big of a leap. And I'm very surprised, actually, guys. We all have talked about Arizona, and I'm the first one to bring up DeAndre Hopkins. That was a huge acquisition for them, and they gave up peanuts, which is infuriating to see. But Kyler Murray goes and gets his bona fide number one wide receiver. They already have Larry Fitzgerald there, and they have a couple other guys that they added in the draft a couple of years ago, Hakeem Butler, and I forget the other little speedy wide receiver they got, but
Christian Kirk.
No, not
well. They
he's
have
there
Christian
as well.
Kirk.
Yeah, he's there as well.
Andy Isabella.
Andy
Isabella. That's right. They have it.
I did mention Hopkins and how they fleeced Bill O'Brien for him, but I moved on to Isaiah Simmons real quick.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, everybody knows about Hopkins, but Simmons, I feel like they drafted specifically for George Kittle.
They 100% did. 100%. Like you said, he burned them both games. They went out and got a George Kittle stopper. And, just from a fan aspect, you respect the move. You want them to be as good as possible. And although I think they finished third in the division, I would not be surprised to see the 49ers drop one of them next season. They played both games very, very tough, almost just as tough as Seattle. So I could see them finishing
tougher.
Yeah, easily tougher.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So I think Arizona, although they finished third, they seem to they do a very, very good job of building for their division. They match up with their division really well. Years prior, they've always been able to split with Seattle, even if the 49ers were getting swept by Seattle. So they've just always done a good job of building their team that way. But I would probably see them 7-9, 8-8 tops. Seattle more of a 10-6, 9-7. Not that big of a gap. However, I just still think Seattle isn't surpassed by Arizona. And then, like I said, we're all in agreement here. The Rams are the bottom of the barrel. The Rams are, bottom feeders. I think that they completely screwed themselves over trying to get to the Super Bowl, trying to keep their window open. And they definitely did it the wrong way because now they're completely screwed. Like Anthony said, I think I forget who it was. Clay Matthews, maybe. He was tweeting out that they still haven't paid him.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, that's because they owe Jared Goff. Jared Goff has a $50 million dead cap hit.
Yep.
Like,
a lot of
why?
money.
Yeah.
It's
ridiculous.
There's two types of teams in the league. There's teams like the Eagles, who Howie Roseman is a genius. He's a genius when it comes to making those type of moves for the roster. And then there's the Rams and Les Snead, where the Eagles can go all in and still somehow manage to work around it and build a solid team. And then there's the Rams who go all in and we see what happens in one season. They went from Super Bowl to not even being able to pick in the first round.
Yeah. Well, and don't forget the Patriot way of building the draft, which is what I think the Dolphins are doing. And I think it's very smart. And I think that's how Kyle and John are kind of approaching the team is through the Patriots method. Like you need to have, you can't be too married to certain players. You have to be willing to move off those players maybe a little bit early than you would. But yeah, the way the Rams did it, it's just not sustainable at all. I mean, they gave Todd Gurley all that money and now he's gone. A year and change after they did it. Aaron Donald, I think, is turning 30 this year, if I'm not mistaken. And he's an absolute beast, but, I think he makes $25 million a year.
Yep.
You have to re-sign Jalen Ramsey, and you kind of have to re-sign him with the amount of draft capital you gave up to get him. Your fan base is not going. Fan base, however many are left. After that horrible logo reveal too. I mean, they just can't do anything right now. They're going to have a horrendous season. It's not good, guys. But I mean, the Rams' misfortune works out for the 49ers. So if we can get 2 free wins out of that, I'm not mad at it. So they only played us. I think they only played us tough once last year. We went down to Los Angeles and just punched them in the mouth.
Oh yeah, that first game. It was ridiculous.
That first game was ugly. It was ugly.
Yeah. And it was funny because they gave up that first touchdown and it was like, oh my God, what type of game is this going to be?
Yeah.
And that's all they scored.
Yeah, I remember we were all texting each other about it. Like, oh god, dude, they just marched down the field and they just killed us. And then it was like, no, we're fine.
Yeah.
It's like one of those heavyweight boxers. You need to take that jab ahead of time, and get in there. But yeah, I think that it's going to be a division game is never easy. But if you're going to predict which one would be the easiest, it would probably be these two.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now, while we're on the topic of the NFC West predictions, Matt, who has the better year out of Javon Kinlaw and Isaiah Simmons? I know they're in different positions, so however you want to predict that, feel free.
I think, man, it's tough to say. I think Isaiah Simmons is going to pop as far as in comparison to the rest of the Cardinals defense, which has kind of been on the downslide, which isn't really a great unit. I think that Isaiah Simmons is going to stand out as an athlete and as somebody who he's one of those guys that's, kind of like a Fred Warner, like where he's not maybe the best player, but he's the one that the announcers are always calling out. You're always hearing his name. Oh, he's in on the tackle. Oh, he did this. Oh, he did that. Me has the advantage of being surrounded by better talent at his position. So he's going to benefit more from not having the focus of the opposing offense, and he's going to wreak havoc by virtue of Nick Bosa and D Ford and Eric Armstead and K'Wan Williams blitzing out of the nickel position when Saleh does decide to blitz. He's going to face way less double teams than he faced in the SEC last year, so he's going to be able to get off the ball and use his athleticism to his advantage. But on a down-to-down basis, I think we hear more from Simmons. But I think as far as an impact, a real tangible impact, I think Kinlaw is going to have the greater impact.
Okay. All right. Anthony, how would you rank going into next year NFC West quarterbacks?
Going into next year, man, if you want me to factor overall athleticism and with what's been given at their disposal, you got to give it to Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is a top 5 quarterback in the league. That's a given. I don't know, guys. I'm sorry, but I'm really feeling Kyler Murray. I think he had an excellent rookie season. You give him another outstanding weapon in DeAndre Hopkins, something he can work with entirely. On top of old ass Larry Fitzgerald being back, and he's gonna catch another 70, 80 passes for 500 yards, whatever it may be. But overall, you give Kyler Murray a top 3 wide receiver in the league with a pretty good offensive play caller, albeit it felt like a lot of Kyler Murray's passes they felt like checkdowns. They felt like a lot of checkdowns, a lot of quick read and throws because of our defensive line and how bad their offensive line is. But at the end, I'm not going to overstate anything. I think their offense is very good. They have a lot of very good weapons with a playmaking quarterback, honestly. Kyler Murray may never be a Russell Wilson, but he can make plays with his feet, just like Wilson can. And then obviously that leaves me at Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, the thing is with this, guys, is that I'm not going, oh, Kyler Murray is the clear-cut better than Garoppolo. I do think it's pretty close between the two. You have a quarterback like Kyler whose skill set is so much different than Jimmy Garoppolo. I think what Jimmy Garoppolo does is a lot better than what Kyler does, and what Kyler does is obviously a lot better than what Jimmy does. You know what I mean? So 2 entirely different skill sets. If you had to kind of put them on a grade scale, I think it'd be really similar in terms of how they fit in the offense and how they play. But for the sake of what's going on, I got to give it to Jimmy Garoppolo. I think that there is a limit to his ceiling as a quarterback. We've seen that he may not be able to hit the deep balls. His accuracy is questionable. He doesn't look for the outside boundary wide receivers. Obviously, the offense calls for it, but he's only looking in between the numbers. We very seldom see him pass anything over 20 yards on the outside boundaries. I think one of the only few passes I saw that I can think of was Deebo Samuel's touchdown against the Ravens when Marcus Peters kind of got burnt. And that's honestly one of the only few I can think of. But that's not knocking Garoppolo, you guys. His skill set is perfect for what the offense asks for. He can read a field. He has good arm strength as a whole. Not great deep arm strength, but he has good zip on it for short and intermediate passes. He's fantastic in the pocket. He can extend plays in the pocket with his feet. And I think he's a quarterback coach's dream because his mechanics are a little wacky, but once you kind of work through him, you realize that his ceiling can be through the roof. It's just a matter of where's the limit? Where's the cap to his ceiling that I think a lot of people question, including myself. But with that being said, guys, obviously leaves Jared Goff. I don't think any offensive genius can save him. Not even an Andy Reid, not even the Belichick or Kyle Shanahan. He's just that team as a whole is too defunct for Jared Goff to work with. And the way he played with McVay felt very similar to his first season. I think he had one season under Jared Fisher. I don't know why, but it felt really similar with Jared Goff. And you see that he needs the coaching around him to excel for him to excel. And he needs the rest of the offense around him to pick up so he can pick up. He's not like a Wilson or a Rodgers or a Brady where he can just naturally carry his team. I think Goff needs those type of weapons, and he needs that outside help for him to succeed. And I can't see that with him. And that's the ultimate downfall for the Rams at the end of the day is terrible quarterback play. And Goff is definitely a bottom 20 quarterback in the league. I don't think he has it. I liked him at Cal, didn't like him on the Rams, and it's Jared Goff down here, and then Garoppolo and Kyler really close, and then Russell Wilson on top.
All right. Well, I appreciate the visualization of it. That's going to do it for us tonight, guys. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Niners News on 49ers Hive. This video is brought to you by 49ershive.com. Right now we have our Come At Me Bro t-shirts. If you go on Shop 49ers Hive tab on 49ershive.com, you can enter in code JS74 for 15% off in celebration of Joe Staley's career. The code is JS74. It is on the screen below. Also, make sure you guys go and follow all of us on Twitter. Our handles are below on the screen. And comment your thoughts below. Do you guys think that the NFC West is going to have major changes next season? Do you see the 49ers winning it like we all do? Do you see the Rams at the bottom like we all do? Make sure you guys leave your thoughts below. We'll check them out. And also make sure you guys subscribe and turn notifications on. Once we reach 250 subscribers on this channel, we will be giving away a jersey. I think we're about halfway there, guys. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on so you don't miss a single video from 49ers Hive. Thanks for tuning in.